You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, it's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. When the Iron Lady sings, that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, we appreciate you guys being here. And as always, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one of the TikTokity, all those crazy places on the internet. As always, we have the most amazing authors with the hottest new books coming off the shelves, just literally flying at you through the Chris Voss Show. Duck, there you go. We have the latest book that's coming out August 13th, 2024, called Layman's Report by Eugene Marten. And we're going to be talking to him about his book. It's a kind of a reissuance of sorts, and why it was popular and all that good stuff and needed that second coat of paint. Eugene was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, to European parents, immigrated to the U.S. before the age of 2, and grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, after stints in Oregon, New York City, Costa Rica, Texas, South Dakota, and Los Angeles. In 2014, an expert from Lay's report earned him a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship. Welcome to the show. Eugene, how are you?
Thanks, Chris. I'm great and happy to be here. We appreciate the opportunity.
We're happy to have you as well. Welcome back to the show, or to the show. Welcome back with a book that you've restructured and re-put out again. Give us any .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
I hate to say that I have no .coms. I have no internet or social presence media other than email.
Who hurt you on the internet?
Pardon?
Show me on the doll where the internet hurt you. Why don't you have...
Just a lack of interest, I think, and just have no affinity with it. I think I might even have a slight fear of social media.
Ah, there you go. Well, it has kind of turned into something dark and dangerous. It started out really nice, but it's much like the Pandora's box sort of thing. Once it opens, really you can't put the baby back. So give us a 30,000 overview of your book, Layman's Report.
Okay, it's a work of fiction. It's based on a real person. Actually, the guy's name was Fred Lucher, and in the book, he's just Fred. Mm-hmm. And he is just kind of an average, mild-mannered guy in most ways. He has certain skills. He's what we call mechanically inclined. He's good with his hands. He's sort of a self-styled inventor, and he parlays this skill set into pretty unusual occupation, which is building, designing, and maintaining equipment that's used to execute criminals in the American prison system.
Oh, wow.
He actually has turned this into a small business. He has a business partner, which doesn't work out well for him, but a number of employees. Works out of a storefront in a kind of little shady part of town, in a Midwestern Rust Belt town. Uh-huh. And, the thing that's interesting about him, though, is he approaches this vocation with a certain amount of humanity, because it's a fact that in the prison system, capital punishment is not like a professionally done endeavor. Yeah. There are no scientists or doctors or engineers involved. It's, these things are put together by guys who might have a knack for building things, but a lot of times they don't work, and the results are horrific. Yeah. And it's been documented. Yeah. And Fred approaches us with great seriousness and thinks, well, if someone's being seen out this way, then and the state has taken it upon themselves to do it, then it shouldn't be state-sanctioned torture. It should be done as painlessly and humanely as possible, as on their way to see their maker, which Fred believes in. Yeah. Well, he's got this going. Meanwhile, up in Canada, there's a trial about to take place in which the defendant has denied the Holocaust. He has published a work saying that the mass extermination of Jews during World War II never happened, that the concentration camps were not made for that purpose. They were just labor camps, displacement camps, relocation, what have you. Mm-hmm. And in Canada, that's a big crime. and you can be prosecuted and sent to prison for it. This defense team decides, well, we need to prove that the Holocaust didn't happen. So they all they can think of is we need to find some kind of expert who can go to the camps, or Auschwitz in this case, and look for forensic evidence as to whether or not this happened. And lo and behold, they come up with Fred. They recruit him for this purpose. He goes to Poland. He visits the camps. He gets samples, takes measurements, analysis, all this stuff. And, he goes to Toronto after that to testify as an expert witness. It does not go well for him. So he publishes a report, based on his purported findings, the report of the title. And, after that, it's just he's gone completely down the rabbit hole, through the looking glass, however you want to put it, and his world just turns upside down.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of adventure that he goes on. Now this is the how would you describe this? The reissued version?
It's a reissue, a republication. It is something of a revision. Still the same story, all the content's the same, but I'm very much a language and sentence person, and so I was able to elevate, and refine the voice of the story, and included a little bit of more content, but nothing as far as plot or story. Everything that happens in the original happens in this one. The reason for it being, put out in this 2.0 version was just simply the initial publication, and I use that term advisedly, was done with a publisher that was just having a lot of problems. There was all sorts of incompetence, just lack of communication, just on all levels, just from typesetting to the cover to editing. And if you complained about it, he would challenge you to a fight.
Oh, fist fight?
Yeah, fist fight. Yeah, several times. Do you want to dance? Unquote.
You want to dance?
He was in Michigan at the time, and I was in California. I suppose we could have met halfway or something.
Yeah, do you want to dance? That's usually what they say to me at the Blue Oyster Club in Police Academy. Some people will get that.
I know. I was saying, well, people actually say this.
Anyway.
And so it was. When the book was released, it wasn't even, the layout wasn't even finished. There were all kinds of errors. There was no marketing, no publicity. I did go to one reading in LA at the Book Soup on Sunset, and there was one person in the audience because there was no publicity for it. But and she was assured me that was okay because she was a Columbia grad, but turned out she was just there for a free book.
She was there for
so it was a nightmare. And
so now it's you've been able to go back, re-edit it, do some improvements. Maybe it was everything added that maybe you've put more back into the story. Maybe people that have read it before need to go back and see what's on there now.
It's possible. I don't know how many people though have even picked it up, because it was like I said, it was just below everybody's radar, I think, at that time. So I am, regardless of what happens, I'm not saying it's going to turn it into a phenomenon, but I'm just grateful to have a second go at it.
Back on track,
and with a really great team.
Back on track.
At PHRC, or PRHC.
There you go. So when did you become a writer? I think you've written 2 books. Is that correct?
This is the fifth.
Fifth. Okay, I found Pure Life, and Waste, Firework, In the Blind. And so what made you want to become a writer? How did you grow up, and how did your being raised influence you? And when did you first know you were a writer?
I was always attracted to books. According to my mother, before I could walk or talk, I was looking at books. I would leaf through the pages. If I couldn't read, if 2 pages were stuck together, I would pull them apart and go back. But I always wanted to do, after I got the other, like the other boyhood aspirations, like out of the way, like astronaut, football player, priest, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to do something creative. I was just obsessed with the idea of doing something creative. And I wanted to be a filmmaker at one time, a musician, which I have a little more talent for that. But finally, I always did have a certain ability for writing, but I think it was kind of a case of, well, if I'm good at it, well, how good can it be? And once I turned the corner, when I realized that writing and literature really is an art form, because I couldn't see it as that. I think I found this kind of perfect synthesis of all the media. because like if you have film or music or whatever, in writing, in great writing, you also have sound and images.
Yeah.
I think like, for a while, a writer was the last thing I wanted to be, but then it became a bit like Saul on the road to Tarsus. I'm the biggest convert, and fanatic you could find. So now it's a question of just trying to do it right,
There you go. You've got this book redone and out. What's the future hold? What are you planning for the future?
For this particular book, or just for me?
Well, your books are for you, I suppose.
Well, I'm working on something else now. I just finished a draft of a longhand draft. I write like a couple of drafts in longhand when I first do it. It's a long book. It's kind of, for me, like a bit of an epic, I guess. Maybe not in the traditional sense of like, Boris Pasternak or something. But so whatever happens with this, I have not gotten tons of recognition in my, career, if you want to call it that. And of course, you're going to change all that. But I get so much joy out of it that it never discourages me from doing it. It's like when I'm sitting there, in my little office there at my desk, I'm playing with sentences, getting the right sounds, getting the right words together, which is what it's all about for me. It's like playing an instrument. And, I'm at peace with the world when I'm doing that. So I won't stop no matter what happens until I run out, I suppose.
There you go. Is there any follow-up to this book? Is maybe a book 2 of this report?
No, to me, like in a way, every book is a sort of unofficial sequel to whatever preceded it. No matter, it might not be obvious in terms of content or anything like that, but so I don't really ever think in those terms. Like when something is done, it's done. I have done Pure Life was a kind of spin-off of a character that was mentioned in Firework. Who was just a peripheral, and that turned into a full-fledged character. But it wasn't because I wanted to continue that book, and it might have happened anyway, even if the character hadn't been written. But as far as sequels or part 2s or series, no, I just don't think that way.
All right, sounds good. Well, it'll be exciting to read the new version out on August 12th, was it? 2024?
13th.
13th?
13th.
There you go. August 13th.
Yeah, I know. I was like Tuesday because I was thinking it would happen on Monday. But
that's right. Tuesday. It is the 13th. I was switching between the audiobook and the thing, so it stopped showing it. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Give people any .coms or tell people where to pick up the book, wherever fine books are sold, I guess.
Okay. Well, the publisher is Strange Light, and that's at Penguin Random House Canada, Barnes & Nobles, Amazon. It'll be in, probably every Barnes & Noble in any major city. Independent stores will carry it. I'm not sure which ones, but as far as my own, I don't have my own site or I don't tweet or X or whatever they call it now. I just have a phobia of all that, or maybe it's not a phobia. Maybe I'm just protecting myself.
Maybe it's just healthy. Yeah, I mean it's quite the obsession to get into. It's a bit much.
It's really
Yeah, so maybe, living the real world's a whole lot nicer. So thank you very much, Eugene, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, too. I had a great time.
There you go. And I'll refer our friends, neighbors, relatives, pick up the book wherever fine books are sold. Layman's Report out August 13th, 2024 by Eugene Marten. Refer your friends to our websites across social media. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that should have